question on your plate, time for you and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions and for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of a toast and tea. If you don't know why tea and plate and decisions and revisions are important and why it is so ironic, then you will never get Elias, because Elias is bullshitting us by saying indecisions and revisions. It's playing with our head for rhyme. So rhyme has so many, the uses of rhyme, and the modern uses of rhyme are really something to be reckoned with.
And you had obviously heard that you raised this point because you were mocking him.
I was talking. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, the thing is, that would be wonderful. We do have audience members here who may not speak Spanish, so maybe 3 would be a little imposing, maybe 4.
No, it would be a couple of questions and then we read it.
Or yeah. So that would be beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
I'm curious. You say that you use a sonnet form.
Yes.
And you talked about one head from the thinking machine. Or the anyway, I was just kind of curious. Are you using Italian or English? Because it seems that the English sonnet, the 3 quatrains and then the couplet, are closer to the kind of logical movement that invite a kind of thinking machine possibility.
Yeah, I do work on the two quartets and two.
The 3 quatrains and the heroic.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know the term in English. And I mainly work on 11 syllables. I rarely have maybe 1 or 2 Alejandrino or something on Alejandrino. The 14 syllable, which is so beautiful, so nice to the ear, that's not enticing as much as the 11 syllable verse. And this comes from maybe reading in Cuba were either Italianizantes or French Francophiles. And I was sort of an Italian lover of the whole essence of it. And we get it from Nebraska, it's lent to us. And I've always liked the syllable format and how it plays in Spanish. It really lends itself to be heard, and it really runs very beautifully.
The interesting thing is, this is what the professor in me comes up. The interesting thing is that we accused, or people accused at the time Darío of being francophile, but what he was doing by writing these Alejandrinas, which are 13 syllables lines, he was going back to basics. Gonzalo de Tercero wrote wonderful poems in 14 lines, a medieval Spanish poet. The Alejandrino in French is a very different thing than the Alejandrino in Spanish.
In English, it's a 12 syllable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Alejandrino in French is 12 as well. So that's the Alejandrino. For us, it's 14 syllables, and la princesa está triste, cesura, ¿qué tendrá la princesa? That sounds to Nestor like Díaz, bad science, was something that was so novel at the time that people in Spain and also in Latin America were saying, what is this? What is this guy doing?
Yeah, then when the Swan came floating in, they knew it was bullshit.
Well, I would have called bullshit, but yeah, it was something like, well, that's not bullshit.
I think to answer that question that I had about the sonnet, the Italian Marcus conceit conception is different from the metaphysical conception of the English sonnet. And these are 2 sort of thinking ideas too. But do you have that sense when you're composing different kinds of ideas?
We were talking about, in fact, I was afraid we would be out of being. Like, we talk about everything. Yeah, and we were talking about that, and I'm talking about in my own experience writing sonnets. They sort of insinuate themselves, and they just have, okay, and then I will probably revise it, but they do happen in a very, I hear sometimes in a very circumstantial manner. I will say something, and I will say, hey, that's muy negativo, that's an 11 syllable, and that is the verse, that could be a verse, and then I know, wait, that's not only the verse, that's the first verse of my third stanza of this poem, or this is the one that closes, or this is the one that begins, and that's why I say that writing in form, which Marcelo was pointing out, writing in rhyme doesn't necessarily make you a poet, or writing a sonnet doesn't make you a poet. You know, just because you rhyme, that doesn't mean that you're a poet. But what it does give you is the map. If you know what the path is, you see the yellow brick path. You see it there, so here's this one line, and then I have two more lines, and then another one, that's full. Move on to the other. So, but in my case, they sort of refuse themselves and happen. On the other hand, I am now horrified writing free verse. I think I've written under 10, 15 poems in the free verse poems in the past 5 years, and I am telling you, I am a solid writing machine. I'm not proud of it, but that's the fact.
What I don't understand about your question is in what way it's a different way of thinking.
Or if that Mark can
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Petrarchan form, and one of the reasons I think English language poets love Spanish and Portuguese and Italian and French sonnets is it has basically this 8/6 setup with this one turn in it, whereas the English sonnet developed in, again, correct me if I'm wrong, in a way that kind of accommodated syllogistic logical argument, where you went four, and then two couplets, which summarize and tie everything up. And if you had different feelings about that,
Well, I have several Shakespearean sonnets here, several, and they're very difficult because the punchline in those two, you either get it. I mean, you either find the right two lines or you don't, and if you don't, it's a disaster. It's just not. But when you find them, these two. Anyway, in any sonnet, you have to wrap it up with a bang. But in a Shakespearean sonnet, you really have to have two wonderful lines to finish them up, or they fail. So they're very difficult.
They're rhyming to each other, so they do need to close up.
And sometimes for me, the ending of a Shakespeare sonnet, I can't remember which one specifically, but sometimes seems to be a little brusque. You know, it ends just suddenly, and you know that sometimes doesn't happen with the Tarquin sonnet, and which is for us an import product anyway. It came from Italy in the 1400s, and is not in the so-called natural measure of the Spanish language. It doesn't line much shorter in Spanish.
This poem, the number 9, it's a poem that, thank goodness, I found it wonderful. Two lines to close it. It's in Spanish. In English, I don't know if it works the same. I don't think so. But